All right, should be up and running here. We got just a couple of plays to go over today, be going over the market as well. Earnings season is underway, and financials, as is tradition, starting things off. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for July 15th, 2021. SPY down about 1/3% there, Q's down 0.7, and then IWM down a little more than 0.5%. We talked about just the divergence that we have between the three, IWM, Q's, and SPY. Also, the potential time frame conflict between the hourly and the daily on the Q's and SPY, and kind of the SPY being the one that has the most prevailing strength. The trend is, even on a break of the hourly trend, still looks pretty bullish, still has a decent looking uptrend. Okay, and so seeing what we got today, which is we did break the low from a couple days ago on the Qs and from yesterday on the SPY. But what happened? We tried to break down, and then we got bought. So there's a couple ways for us to start a bearish bias. Otherwise, aside from the two scenarios I'm about to go over, we're going to remain bullish as we have been. And then IWM is kind of doing its own thing. Maybe it'll start to bounce a little bit here. It's gotten a little bit extended now on the daily, so the IWM may get the bounce. But as we've seen lately, Qs and SPY can move higher with or without the IWM, right? And so we haven't had these three be in sync, okay, for the last couple of weeks. And then Qs and SPY have been able to make new highs with or without it. So IWM into some support, could get the bounce, but doesn't seem like Qs and SPY really need it to continue to move up, right? So, it's a little bit different. A couple weeks ago, we saw more kind of rotation, but they were all staying strong. IWM still basing more above the 20 MA. Okay, so in that case, it was kind of easy to be bullish with all three. And then as the IWM started to roll over a bit, you can see lose the uptrend, and then the Qs and SPY remained strong. We started to see more and more divergence between the three. Qs and SPY also separating a little bit, but remaining bullish still. Just seems like on different days, one takes the lead. Okay, the two scenarios that we could be bearish, and then pretty much every other scenario we're going to be bullish. Okay, so they're similar here on the SPY. The numbers, of course, will be different. SPY needs to either tomorrow morning start to sell off. Okay, so basically needs to create a pivot here sooner rather than later. So starting tomorrow morning. Okay, that would be the first scenario. And then we go and revisit the lows. Why is that going to allow us to start a bearish bias? Because the hourly will confirm the downtrend. Okay, so that will be the start. Daily will still be bullish though. This is the time frame conflict that we now have. Hourly potentially lower, daily, weekly, monthly, all still bullish. Okay, the second scenario is if we gap down underneath today's low. Okay, so if we gap down underneath today's low, then that will be confirming, because then we'll get the lower low with the gap down, and then this will serve as the lower high. So either way, I'm looking for this afternoon's rally back to set in a lower high. Okay, otherwise, if neither of those things happen, we're going to be bullish. We're going to remain bullish and probably be bullish going into next week. Okay, Qs could still move up and create the lower high. Right here is about where we have resistance, around 361.80. Okay, also like the SPY, if we gap down underneath today's low, also bearish bias, as the Qs hourly will be confirming the lower low and then the short-term downtrend. Daily is still bullish though, clearly in an uptrend. The more that you zoom out, the more bullish it gets. Weekly is bullish, monthly is bullish. Okay, so hourly, of course, in an uptrend is going to be the first one to turn if we do go into a downtrend or get a meaningful pullback. All right, so those are the two scenarios. We still could move up a little bit on the Qs, but we'd have to create a pivot maybe late morning into the afternoon, and then would have to follow through from there. Okay, back to the lows. Or if we get a gap down underneath today's lows, then we're short-term bearish on both. Okay? All right, so that's the scenario for these. But otherwise, you can see here, and I was pointing this out too in the room, that if we look at the hourly here, which has been very, very strong, right? It's been very rare to get red bars, multiple red bars in a row with lower lows, like here, right? So you could say here we got some red bars here and multiple red bars in a row, but we're not producing lower lows, right? So we are pretty bullish here on the Qs overall still, and so that's what we're going to remain unless either of those two scenarios plays out, right, that we outlined. So which is the same as what we talked about the other day, because even when we got this sell-off here, I was saying we need to get under the low and we need to get continuation, and so we didn't really get it, right? And that's why even especially the SPY here, right, if we're looking at what happened, okay, we broke it. Did we get continuation? We broke, and then we popped right back up. So no, we did not get continuation. So even on the SPY here, we didn't really get much follow through. Okay, so that remains to be seen there on the Qs and SPY. Okay, a couple of plays to go over here from today. Nice call out on the BX from Sammy here. Just this base breakout right in here. Pretty nice. Okay, very bullish on the daily. The gap is not that exceptional here, but as far as the intraday setup goes, pretty much flawless here. You even get a little shakeout there. 5 minute looks higher. You can see the 2 minute also basing at the top there. 1 minute looks higher. 20 MA catching up. So that was pretty good on the BX. And then this one here into the afternoon, I think got a little bit of help from the market, which got some selling in the afternoon here. Another base breakdown right here on the Sava. Again, the gap is solid. It is interesting that it is kind of a trend break gap, right? So if you were kind of like trailing this thing up, this does seem like, you know, this is the day we're breaking the 20 MA for the first time in a couple months, that it would be time for some of the longer term players to start to exit, right? And then you get a base at the lows, you get a breakdown from there, closing at the lows here. Okay. A lot of stuff though, again, a little bit more in between, a lot of midway bases, a lot of things moving without setups, okay? And so acting like what is pretty common for the first week of earnings season is that we don't really get things to start rolling until the second, third, and fourth week of earnings season, okay? But it's good to see kind of how things are behaving, and then how the market is acting heading into those second and third weeks. And then we can start to pick up the aggressiveness, right? If you remember last earnings season, I think I made it pretty clear, okay, you know, I'm picking up the aggressiveness. We can start to take more plays. Maybe the gap's not quite perfect, but if we have some shock value to it, if we're doing some damage to the daily chart, especially the gap downs last earnings season, or giving really nice follow through, a lot of all day holds, okay? And so, you know, I'll let you know, I'm not seeing that right now, you know. So, you know, some of these market wraps are probably going to be shorter until we get that, just because, you know, if I'm not seeing that much, and if I'm still saying, just like it was yesterday and the day before, really only higher quality setups, otherwise don't settle, you know, then that's just the way it is. If I'm not really seeing a lot of things to do, and then if we start to see a lot more to do, gaps are better, the follow through is better, right, I'll let you know. Let's pick up the aggressiveness, okay? Just like we did last earnings season into the second week. Okay, we'll see though. Okay, we'll be here and we'll kind of adjust as we go, take it day by day. Okay? All right, hope you did well today, or at least stayed out of trouble. We'll be back at it tomorrow to close out the week, and I will talk to you then. Have a good evening.